That's a good start. Hello and welcome back to Toast and Strawberry Jam. Thank you for joining me. Happy 2015. This is my first video 2015, my first video for quite a long time, so bear with me, and my cat has just decided that it wants to leave the room. 1 second. So this year I've set myself a challenge to read 25 books. Last year I set myself a challenge around June to read 20 books in the remainder of the year. I read like 13 or 14, so I think probably if I actually try I should be able to get 25 quite easily. I have already read 3 books, or like finished 3 books, so I'm already doing okay, and I have a pile of books here that I want to read this year, and I was just going to show them to you and tell you why I want to read them. The first one is quite big, but it's actually 3 books in one. It's the Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis, and this is the book for my book group that I'm in. I'm in a sci-fi and fantasy book group, and this, the second of these books, was one that was chosen for our next book group, but I haven't read any of them, so I thought really I should probably read all of them. So I have almost finished the first book. I started that yesterday on the train home from visiting my parents, and I was really enjoying it, so hopefully I should be able to finish that in time so that I can like fully enjoy discussing all of the things in it. These books are in no particular order, by the way. I just did that one first because that's what I'm reading at the moment. So the next few books are all sort of fall into the category of gothic fiction. So last week me and my husband went on like a little holiday. We went to London and went to the British Library where we saw their Gothic exhibition. I can highly recommend it for anybody who's interested in any kind of Gothic fiction or just the Gothic genre in general. There was films. It talked a lot about sort of all varieties of the kind of Gothic genre. It was really, really interesting. It's only on until the 20th of January, so if you do get the opportunity to go, definitely recommend it. But it made me realise actually, you know, Gothic is one of my favourite genres, and I haven't actually read an awful lot of Gothic fiction. I've not watched very many sort of Gothic films, so that's kind of my aim for the year, is to really kind of get into the kind of Gothic genre and have actually experienced some of the classics. So the next few books that I have to read are The Small Hand by Susan Hill. She wrote The Woman in Black, which was a fantastic book. The film, the new film, well, new-ish film, the original one, the first one, was really good. I really enjoyed it. Don't know if I'm going to see the second one just because I don't know if it's going to be any good. I might see it, but this is by the same author and I really want to read this one, also because this is my mum's book and I've had it for about 18 months, so I should really give it back to her, but I want to read it first. So that's one of them. The next one is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's a classic book that I haven't read. I started it, I thought it was going to be I thought the language was going to be different than it is, so it was going to be much more modern, but it is quite traditional language, I guess. It's a little bit, it was hard to get into. I was trying to read it on the train, didn't work out very well, but that is the next thing that I would like to read as soon as possible. It's not very long, so it shouldn't take me too long to read it, provided I can get into it, but really is classic Gothic fiction and I haven't read it and it's just not acceptable. So that is the next thing. The next book is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Again, it's a book that I really feel I should have read. I studied it a little bit when I was doing drama at school, and English as well. I think we sort of briefly touched on Gothic fiction, and this was one of the ones that we talked about, because again it's classic. really, I know the story, obviously. I really love the story. I've just never actually read the kind of original story. This one is The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. This is one that I know very little about. It's one that I just know of to be gothic fiction. I've heard a lot about it. I know that it's very sort of creepy, eerie, but also, you know, quite wonderful. And so I'm quite looking forward to reading this one. I feel like I might have seen a film or bits of a film of an adaptation of this, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but this is another one that I really feel like I should have read and I haven't. And then the next two are kind of collections of stories. One is Edgar Allan Poe and the other one is H.P. Lovecraft. I had some sort of debate with my husband about whether or not H.P. Lovecraft is gothic horror or whether it's just sort of horror. There's definitely gothic themes in it, but I don't know if it technically falls into the category, but I still want to read at least some of his work because I know of it. My mum is a great lover of H.P. Lovecraft, and so I do feel like I should have experienced it at least a little bit again. I started reading it and found the language a little bit difficult to get into, but I think if I just kind of allow myself the time to get into it, then I should be able to get through that. So, and then Edgar Allan Poe, one of my favourite poems is The Raven, and I love his writing style and the kind of twisted, creepiness of his work, so I think I'm going to enjoy this as well. And then, not gothic ones, just other ones I want to read. Orlando by Virginia Woolf. My mum, again, she really loves this book, and I tried to read it and I didn't like it. I just really I didn't understand it, I didn't enjoy it, but I really want to be able to talk to her about it, really want to be able to kind of understand where she's coming from when she says she enjoys it. Maybe as I get further into it I will enjoy it more, but I really want to make the effort to try and like read this book because it is my mum's favourite book at the moment, and I feel like I want to share this book with her. So then I've got Sorcery by Terry Pratchett. I started reading this one, I'm about halfway through as you can see. Me and my husband went on a bit of a Terry Pratchett binge last year. Well, he did, he read all of them in like half a year. I only got as far as Sorcery, and then got distracted by other books, so I'd like to finish this one. But this also represents like all the other Terry Pratchett books, so I do want to read all of them at some point, maybe not this year, but basically this is all the Terry Pratchett books on my reading list for this year, so hopefully I can get through a good number of them. And then Neil Gaiman has become one of my favourite authors recently. I read Coraline for the first time just at the end of last year and really enjoyed it, like so much so that I started to record myself reading it so that I could share that with my parents, and I just love his writing, his style. I'm listening to Neverwhere, read by him, and it's just wonderful to hear an author reading his own work, I think, because he knows how it should sound, and I don't know, there's something really quite magical about hearing the author read their own work, provided that they have a good voice, which he does. So I've got Stardust here. This was a Christmas present. I'd really like to read this. I haven't seen the film. Again, another thing on my list of things to do this year is to watch like the films of all of these things that I feel I should have watched. But yeah, so Stardust. I'd like to read Good Omens, and then a couple of other ones. I think he's got recently released Trigger Warning, which is like a collection of short stories, if I'm not mistaken. So I'd like to read that as well, and basically anything by Neil Gaiman right now. I'm just like, more Neil Gaiman. And then this one is one that I just picked up in Waterstones. It was a buy one get one half price. I'd seen a book that I quite liked the look of. It's called The Guest Cat, which is a beautiful book. I'm going to do a kind of light review on that. and I just wanted to get that one and wanted to take advantage of the half price book, so I got this, The Watcher in the Shadows, and it just seemed kind of interesting to me. Again, with the kind of, I wouldn't say that this is gothic necessarily, or I don't know if I haven't read it, but it just seemed kind of creepy, and I don't know, I liked the sound of this, so I'm going to give it a go. I would tell you his name, but I think I'm going to totally mash it up, so I'll just put it somewhere, but there we go. The final two books that I have to kind of put on my list are Sabriel and Lyriel, I think is how it's pronounced, by Gareth Nix. This is like a whole series of books, there's like 2 others I think, and I'd really like to read these. I've heard really good reviews about them, they sound really interesting, and yeah, I found the second one, well, I don't know if it really works as in like first, second, third, fourth, but I found this one in a second-hand shop in Norwich and was like, ooh, so then I picked this one up in Waterstones, and I am looking forward to reading it. I've got such a pile of books, and I'm like, I want to start all of them straight away, but that's not a good idea, so that's my reading list for 2015. There's 12 or 13 books here, I think, so, and like 14, 15, if that's, if we can count those as like the 3 books. So those with 3 that I've already read, I'm looking good for my 25 books aim for the year. So fingers crossed that I get that done. So please do tell me what you want to read this year, let me know in the comments, or you can let me know on Twitter, and yeah, I love to hear book suggestions. Suggest books to me, please. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye!